Albert Einstein was born on March 14th, 1879, in the city of Ulm. His family lived quite modestly. His mother was a housewife, and his father ran an electrical engineering business, but it was often unstable. As a child, Albert was very different from other kids. He started speaking late, was introverted, and preferred being alone. Teachers considered him a weak student because he didn't like memorization and often argued with the education system. When the family moved to Munich, nothing really changed. He still felt like he didn't belong. A turning point in his life was his fascination with science. A small compass his father showed him completely changed his way of thinking. He realized that invisible forces exist in the world. Later, he moved to Switzerland to study and enrolled in the Polytechnic in Zurich. There, he met his future wife, Mileva Maric. He studied fairly well, but not brilliantly, and after graduating, he faced a major problem. No one wanted to hire him. Eventually, he got a job at a patent office in Bern. The work was routine, but it gave him something crucial: the freedom to think. In his spare time, he wrote scientific papers, and in 1905 he did the impossible. He published several works that revolutionized physics. That's when the famous formula appeared: E equals mc squared. Simple in appearance, but revolutionary in meaning. It showed that mass can be converted into energy, and vice versa. From that moment, his life began to change rapidly. He became a well-known scientist, started teaching, and later moved to Berlin, where he became a true scientific star. In 1921, he received the Nobel Prize for explaining the photoelectric effect. Interestingly, his theory of relativity was still controversial at the time. But when Adolf Hitler came to power, his life changed again. Being Jewish, he was forced to leave Germany and emigrate to the United States. There, he settled in Princeton and worked at the Institute for Advanced Study. Although he was against war, he played an indirect role in the creation of the atomic bomb. He signed a letter to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt warning about the potential of Nazi Germany. Later, he regretted this. Einstein was not a billionaire, but for his time, he earned very well. Early in his career, patent office, he had a typical middle-class salary. Later, as a professor, he had a high income by European standards. In the US, he earned around $10,000 to $15,000 per year, roughly equivalent to $200,000 plus today. In addition, he earned money from lectures around the world, fees for articles and books, and sometimes even sold autographs. He could have become much richer, but he wasn't interested in money and often donated it. Einstein was not a fan of cars and didn't even know how to drive. However, there were cars in his life. He was driven by friends, colleagues, or chauffeurs. In the US, he sometimes used cars provided by the university. Most of the time, he preferred walking or riding a bicycle. So, unlike modern celebrities, he didn't have a collection of cars or anything like a Ferrari. He lived very simply. Interesting facts: Einstein started speaking around the age of 3 to 4. Some people even thought he had developmental issues. Today, there is a term, Einstein syndrome, referring to children who start speaking late, but grow up to be very intelligent. He was offered the position of President of Israel, but he refused. When he was dying in Princeton in 1955, he said something to a nurse, but she didn't understand German, so his last words remain unknown. Einstein wore the same simple clothes, didn't like socks, could forget to eat when he was deep in thought, and loved playing the violin. Albert had 2 marriages. With Mileva Maric, a complicated relationship that ended in divorce, and with Elsa, a calmer union. He had 2 marriages. With Mileva Maric, a complicated relationship that ended in divorce, and with Elsa, a calmer union. He had 3 children, but his relationships with them were not always easy. In his final years, he tried to create a theory of everything, to unify all the forces of nature into one system. But he didn't manage to finish this work. Albert Einstein died on April 18, 1955, in Princeton from an aortic aneurysm. He refused surgery, saying he didn't want to artificially prolong his life. After his death, his brain was preserved for study, and his name became a symbol of genius. Albert Einstein was not just a great scientist, but a symbol that genius is not always obvious from the start. He was a child who was misunderstood, a student no one believed in, and a person who didn't fit into the system. But that's exactly what allowed him to see the world differently. His story proves that it doesn't matter how you begin. What matters is how you think, what you believe in, and how willing you are to go against the rules to change the world.